Welcome to a deeper understanding of the teachings of Neville Goddard, a man who believed that the power to transform your life does not begin outside of you but within your own consciousness. You are not here by coincidence. Something within you has reached a point where it is ready for change. What you are about to hear is not simply another motivational message. It is a reflection of the life you have been creating, often without realizing it. If you truly absorb this understanding, you will not walk away from this moment as the same person. If these words have found you today, there is a reason. This moment is not meaningless or random. Out of all the possible things you could be doing, your attention has been guided here. Something inside you feels connected to these words, even if you cannot fully explain why. That quiet feeling, that inner pull you sense, is often the first sign that something within you is shifting. Long before change appears in your physical world, it begins inside your awareness. Reality begins with consciousness. Before something becomes visible around you, it first moves through your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs. There is a reason certain ideas have been appearing in your mind lately. There is a reason certain feelings have become stronger. A part of you knows that you cannot continue living exactly as you have before, even if you do not know what comes next. You can feel that you are moving towards something different. It may feel like standing at the edge of an unknown path, something unfamiliar, yet somehow deeply connected to who you are becoming. This is not confusion, this is transformation beginning. When your inner world changes, your outer world eventually follows. The way you consistently think, the emotions you repeatedly experience, and the assumptions you hold about yourself create the foundation of your reality. You may have noticed that things that once controlled your emotions no longer affect you in the same way. Situations that once felt overwhelming may now feel distant. Reactions that once happened automatically are becoming choices you can observe. This is not you becoming disconnected from life. It is you becoming more aware. It is the moment when you begin to step outside old patterns and realize that you have the ability to choose a different way of being. The moment you are experiencing right now is not separate from your journey. It is a reflection of the transformation already taking place within you. Something inside you connects with these words because a deeper part of you recognizes that change is possible. As you continue listening, allow yourself to simply be present. Do not overanalyze every sentence or search for immediate proof. Instead, observe what is happening within you. Notice the thoughts that arise, the emotions you feel, and the subtle shift in the way you see yourself. This is not just information entering your mind. It is an opportunity to become aware of the patterns that have been shaping your life. It is a moment where your consciousness begins to expand and where a new understanding starts forming within you. There is a deeper trust developing inside you, the understanding that life is not always working against you. Sometimes the experiences that confuse you, delay you, or challenge you are actually guiding you towards something more aligned with who you are becoming. Many times what feels like a setback is actually a redirection. What feels like being lost may actually be the process of being guided toward a better path. Nothing you have experienced has been meaningless. Every situation has contributed something to your awareness, your strength, and your growth. You are not required to control every detail of your future. Your role is not to force everything into place. Your role is to become aligned with the state of being that allows new possibilities to enter your life naturally. Your inner world is the starting point of everything you experience. The thoughts you repeatedly think, the emotions you repeatedly feel, and the beliefs you repeatedly accept create the foundation from which your reality develops. When you understand this, you begin to recognize that what attracts your attention is often connected to where your consciousness is moving. The things you feel drawn toward can reveal the direction your inner self is preparing to go. And right now, something within you is moving toward expansion, toward a greater understanding of yourself, toward a reality that requires you to see yourself differently. Even if your circumstances appear unchanged, you are not the same person you were before. Transformation begins internally long before it becomes visible externally. A person does not suddenly wake up one day as a completely different version of themselves. Change begins quietly. It begins with a different thought, a new perspective, a different emotional response, or a realization that you are capable of more than you previously believed. These small internal changes are not insignificant. They are the foundation of a completely different experience of life. This message has reached you at a moment when you are becoming more open to change. Perhaps there is still uncertainty. Perhaps there are still doubts and fears. But underneath those feelings exists a willingness to believe that something different is possible. That willingness is enough to begin. When you open yourself to new possibilities, your mind begins searching for new opportunities. Your perception changes. Your choices change. The things that once seemed impossible begin to feel within reach. A new reality begins as an idea before it becomes an experience. Every creation begins internally before it appears externally. There is a deeper intelligence within you, a part of you that understands growth, timing, and transformation in ways your conscious mind may not always understand. Not everything has to happen immediately. Not every answer has to appear today. Some things unfold according to a natural rhythm that cannot be forced. When you trust the process, you release the constant need to control every outcome. You begin moving with life instead of constantly fighting against it. The unknown is not always something to fear. The unknown is where new possibilities exist. It is the space where a new version of yourself can emerge. The truth about your life is deeper than what appears on the surface. Your reality is not simply something happening around you. It is connected to the way you perceive, interpret, and respond to the world. Your awareness influences your experience. The beliefs you hold about yourself shape the way you move through life. Every repeated experience, every familiar pattern, and every emotional reaction has roots deeper than the visible circumstances. Before something appears in your external world, it often begins as an internal belief, expectation, or assumption. You are constantly creating through your consciousness, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unconsciously. Your inner conversations are powerful. The way you speak to yourself, the stories you repeat, and the identity you accept all influence the reality you build. The world around you is not the beginning of creation. It is the reflection of what has already been accepted within you. When you begin taking responsibility for your inner state, you reclaim the ability to create change. You stop waiting for life to transform first and begin transforming yourself from within. The reality you experience is deeply connected to the state of consciousness you live from. What you repeatedly believe, imagine, and accept within yourself eventually influences the way you see the world and the way you interact with it. Many people believe that external circumstances create their thoughts and emotions. They believe that life happens first and their inner reactions simply follow. But there is another way of understanding reality. Your inner world shapes the way you experience the outer world. The physical world is not the beginning of creation. It is the result of what has already been formed within your awareness. Before something becomes visible in your life, it often begins as a thought, a belief, an expectation, or a feeling that you repeatedly carry. You are creating all the time. Every day, from the moment you wake up until you fall asleep, you are impressing something upon your mind. Your thoughts are not meaningless moments that disappear. They influence your perception, your decisions, your actions, and the possibilities you recognize. The thoughts you consistently return to become the lens through which you view life. If you constantly expect disappointment, you begin noticing evidence that supports that expectation. If you believe opportunities exist for you, you become more aware of possibilities that were always present. Your inner world and outer experience are connected. They are not separate realities. The way you see yourself determines what you believe is possible for you. This understanding gives you power because it reminds you that you are not simply a victim of circumstances. You are an active participant in the direction of your life. This does not mean every challenge disappears instantly or that every desire appears without effort. Transformation requires awareness, patience, and a willingness to change patterns that have existed for years. There will be moments when your old beliefs try to return. The familiar version of yourself may feel easier to accept because it is what you have practiced for so long. But something being familiar does not mean it is true. A belief becomes powerful because it has been repeated, not because it is permanent. Just as an old identity was created through repetition, a new identity can be created the same way. Every time you choose a different thought, every time you respond from a place of confidence instead of fear, and every time you imagine yourself differently, you strengthen a new version of yourself. Eventually, what once felt unfamiliar begins to feel natural. One of the greatest challenges in transformation is learning to trust the unseen. There is often a period between the inner change and the external evidence. During this time, it can feel like nothing is happening. This is where many people return to their old patterns. They look outside themselves for proof, and when they do not see immediate results, they begin doubting the change they started creating. But growth does not always appear instantly. A seed grows beneath the surface before anyone sees the flower. Your inner transformation works the same way. The shift begins within before it becomes visible around you. When you understand this, you no longer need constant external confirmation to believe in your own growth. You begin trusting the process because you understand that your internal state is the foundation of your experience. At every moment, you are living from a certain state of consciousness. That state influences how you see yourself, how you interpret situations, and what you believe you deserve. The moment you become aware of this, you gain the ability to choose differently. Instead of reacting automatically to life, you begin responding consciously. Instead of allowing your past to define you, you begin choosing the identity you want to embody. Your future is not controlled by who you were yesterday. It is influenced by who you decide to become today. The deepest beliefs you hold about yourself are the ones that shape your experience, not the temporary thoughts you have occasionally, but the assumptions that quietly live beneath the surface. If you constantly see yourself as limited, your choices and experiences will often reflect that limitation. But when you begin seeing yourself as capable, worthy, and aligned with greater possibilities, you naturally begin moving toward experiences that match that new perspective. Your reality is always reflecting something back to you. It is showing you the beliefs, expectations, and emotions you carry within. Instead of seeing life as something fixed, you can begin seeing it as a reflection that gives you awareness and the opportunity to grow. The question is not only, what do I want to have? The deeper question is, who do I need to become to naturally experience it? Because your reality does not only respond to your desires, it responds to the person you consistently believe yourself to be. There is a deeper level of transformation that goes beyond simply changing your thoughts. Many people say they want a different life, new opportunities, greater happiness, or more freedom. But beneath those desires, there may still exist hidden beliefs that contradict what they want. You may consciously desire success, love, abundance, or peace, but if a deeper part of you still expects failure, rejection, or struggle, those hidden assumptions continue influencing your experience. True transformation does not happen only through words. It happens when your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and identity begin moving in the same direction. Your reality responds not only to what you say you want, but to what you deeply accept as possible for yourself. This is why changing your external circumstances alone is often not enough. You can change your environment, your routines, or your situation, but if the inner state remains the same, old patterns often return in new forms. The real shift begins within. When you change the person you believe yourself to be, your decisions change, your reactions change, your expectations change, and slowly your life begins reflecting that new identity. You may begin noticing patterns that have repeated throughout your life. Similar situations appearing again and again. Similar emotional experiences returning in different forms. Similar challenges showing up even when the circumstances look different. These patterns are not signs that you are trapped. They are invitations to become aware. A pattern cannot be changed until it is recognized. The moment you become conscious of the beliefs and assumptions behind your experiences, you create the possibility of choosing something different. There is a version of you that exists beyond your current circumstances, a version of you that already carries the confidence, peace, strength, and awareness you desire. This version of you is not someone far away. It is not a completely different person. It is another state of being that becomes available when you begin identifying with it. The distance between where you are and where you want to be is often created by the identity you are currently holding. When you stop seeing your desired future as something distant and begin seeing it as something you are becoming, your entire perspective begins to change. You begin thinking differently. You begin making different choices. You begin responding to life from a different place. And as your internal state changes, your external experience begins to reorganize around that change. This is why awareness is the beginning of everything. Without awareness, people continue repeating the same thoughts, the same fears, and the same emotional patterns without realizing they are creating the same results. But awareness gives you freedom. When you can observe your thoughts, you are no longer controlled by every thought that appears. When you can recognize your old beliefs, you are no longer limited by them. When you can see your previous identity clearly, you gain the ability to create a new one. Transformation requires patience because the mind naturally returns to what it knows. Old habits, old fears, and old assumptions may try to pull you back into familiar territory, but the familiar is not always the place where you grow. Growth happens when you continue choosing the new version of yourself even before the outside world confirms the change. Every time you return to the new state, you strengthen it. Every time you choose confidence over fear, trust over doubt, and possibility over limitation, you reinforce the person you are becoming. Eventually, what once required effort begins to feel natural. The new identity becomes your normal way of being. You are not permanently defined by your history. Your past experiences have shaped you, but they do not own your future. Consciousness is always moving. You are always capable of expansion, learning, and becoming something greater. Every moment gives you the opportunity to choose again. You can continue living from old assumptions, or you can begin creating from a new awareness. The life you experience tomorrow begins with the state you choose today. There are moments in life when everything seems uncertain. The things that once felt stable begin to change. Plans shift, relationships transform, opportunities disappear, and the future you imagined suddenly feels unclear. During these moments, it is natural to feel fear. The mind begins searching for answers, asking why things are happening and trying to hold on to what is slowly changing. But sometimes what feels like everything falling apart is actually the beginning of something new. Not every ending is a loss. Some endings are necessary because they create space for a different experience to enter your life. When an old structure no longer matches who you are becoming, life begins to rearrange itself. The things that once felt comfortable may begin feeling limiting. The situations you once accepted may no longer feel aligned with your growth. This process can feel uncomfortable because the mind naturally wants certainty. It wants to stay connected to what is familiar, even when that familiarity prevents expansion. But transformation requires release. You cannot fully step into a new version of yourself while constantly holding on to the identity you are trying to outgrow. Sometimes life removes what no longer belongs, not because you are being punished, but because you are being prepared. The confusion you feel during transition is not proof that you are lost. It is often evidence that you are moving beyond an old version of yourself. You are not being destroyed, you are being reshaped. You are not losing your direction, you are being redirected toward something that matches who you are becoming. Even when everything appears chaotic, there can be a deeper order unfolding beneath the surface. Every ending creates room for a new beginning. Every uncertain moment carries the possibility of growth. As you stop resisting the process and allow change to unfold, you begin realizing that what felt like everything collapsing was actually everything rearranging. A new reality does not appear suddenly. It begins as an internal shift before becoming visible externally. Before your circumstances change, your identity changes. Before your life looks different, the way you see yourself becomes different. You may still look at your surroundings and see the same situations, but something within you has already changed. You think differently, you feel differently, you respond differently. And that inner movement is the beginning of a new experience. The life you desire is not created only by wishing for something different. It is created by becoming the person who naturally belongs in that reality. Your world reflects the beliefs you consistently carry about yourself. The way you see yourself, the expectations you hold, and the emotions you repeatedly return to all influence the direction of your life. As these begin to transform, your experience begins transforming with them. You may notice new ideas appearing in your mind, new perspectives replacing old fears, a different inner voice encouraging growth instead of limitation. These changes may seem small, but they are powerful signs that your identity is shifting. There is often a period where the old version of you and the new version of you exist together. One part of you remembers the past. Another part of you is reaching toward something greater. This space between who you were and who you are becoming can feel uncertain, but it is an important stage of growth. It is where old beliefs begin losing their power and new beliefs begin taking root. You cannot create a new reality while remaining completely attached to the old one. Growth requires trust. It requires patience. It requires allowing yourself to evolve. Everything you're experiencing right now, every thought, every realization, every emotional shift is part of this transformation. Even when progress feels invisible, movement is happening. You are not standing still, you are becoming.